Hello Internet! Did you ever wonder how tides work? If so, and you haven't already seen part 1, I recommend doing so first and come back later. Just click the link on the screen or in the description below to get to the first video. Don't worry, I read here. All done? Okay then, let's get started. Last time we encountered a problem with the two cities Harlingen and then Helder. From that we learned that the equilibrium theory won't give us all the answers we need to explain the tides. So let's take a look at the dynamic theory. But since this theory can be complex, we'll be taking a step-by-step approach. First, imagine our ocean as a bathtub. The rim serves as our coastline. As the moon is now orbiting around the Earth, its two gravitational bulges travel along with it. As a result, water is drawn towards one side, causing high tide on one coast and low tide on the other. While the wave is following the moon, it is stopped at the next landmass it encounters. And that's getting the process started. The wave is now reflected from the coast, traveling back across the ocean. That way, alternating high and low tides are generated. You can easily recreate this effect in your bathtub. There's just one problem. The wave gets weaker with every reflection, so we need to power it back up again. Conveniently, the second gravitational bulge arrives half a day later, so the wave never stops traveling across the ocean. After understanding the first part, we will add the next piece to our puzzle, the Coriolis effect. This effect is caused by the Earth's rotation. It's complex enough to fill a whole video, so I will keep the explanation short. This effect deflects in the northern hemisphere to the right, resulting in a counterclockwise rotation, and in the southern hemisphere it deflects to the left, thus producing a clockwise rotation. To add this effect now to our model, we need to update our rectangular bathtub to a round hot tub, or we could take a bucket of water. I guess that's also fine. Rather than a simple left to right motion of the wave earlier, we will now create a circular motion by rotating the bucket. This new rotating wave still generates high and low tide on its opposing sides. And like before, the gravitational bulges keep the wave running endlessly across the ocean. But now its ongoing motion is in a so-called standing wave around a point in the center of the bucket. This point does not experience any tidal effect and always stays at the same level. That's called an amphidromic point. But where in the world is it? Well, actually, we got a few of them. And even islands like New Zealand can act like one. In the whole Pacific there are only 5, but in the North Sea alone we have 3. The question is, how do they form and how are they distributed around the world? And this question brings us to the next two pieces of our puzzle, wave speed and water depth. This can get a little technical, so I will summarize it quickly beforehand. In short, waves have a certain speed limit. If their speed exceeds that limit, the wave will split up into multiple smaller waves. And that will create multiple amphidromic points. Now to the detailed version. To calculate the speed limit, we need to know the ocean depth, Earth's gravitational acceleration, and we need to know if the wave is a deep water or a shallow water wave. We could argue that it has to be a deep water wave, because oceans. But we would be wrong. Let's do the calculation. We need to divide the wavelengths by 20 and compare the result to the ocean depth. If the ocean is shallower than that, we have a shallow water wave. If not, a deep water one. But how long is the wavelength? Let's look at our Earth with its two water bulges. If we cut the Earth and stretch them out, you can see the typical waveform. Since our Earth's circumference is around 40,000 kilometers, our wavelength would be half of that, around 20,000 kilometers. Now to our equation. 20,000 kilometers divided by 20 is still 1,000 kilometers, which means that oceans 1,000 kilometers or 621 miles deep are still considered shallow water. But the deepest place in our oceans is the Mariana Trench, and only 11 kilometers deep. Just about 1% of the allowed depth, so we can safely stick to calling the oceans shallow water. Next, we will calculate the speed limit. The shallow water equation is Earth's gravity times ocean depth equals speed limit squared. Earth's gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared, and the average ocean is about 4,000 meters deep. This results in a total speed limit of 198 meters per second or around 700 kilometers per hour. And here's where the problem starts, the rotation speed of the Earth. At the equator, a wave needs to travel at a speed of at least 1,600 kilometers per hour. This greatly exceeds the limit, causing the wave to break apart. The shallower the water, the more breakups there are. With an average depth of just 94 meters in the North Sea, the resulting speed limit is only around 110 km per hour. And this is why the small North Sea has 3 amphitronic points, while the whole of the Pacific just has 5. And now to the last piece of the puzzle. Don't worry, it's not that complicated. The further the coasts from its amphitronic point, the higher the wave will become. Easy, right? And now we got everything to finally explain the ocean tides. Let's start by the 2 cities in the Netherlands. While Harlingen is mainly affected by 1 point or wave, Den Helder is influenced by 2. Let's call them A and B. At the same time, A's high tide is in Den Helder, the low tide of B is in Harlingen. Now the wave from A starts moving towards the English coast, while B's high tide is heading towards the Netherlands. This change from A to B keeps the high tide in Den Helder, while slowly raising water in Harlingen. The next explanation is extreme high tides. But let's ignore the wind here. The wind can make tides bigger or smaller regardless of tidal forces. If the water rises and gets pushed into narrow places like bays or harbors, that will cause even higher tides. Also, if the bay is curved along the Coriolis effect, the resulting tides will be even higher, just like in the Bay of Fundy. Still, this doesn't explain the extremes at the northeast coast of France and the British Isles. But as mentioned before, waves get higher the further away they are from its amphitronic point. The respective point is located on the western side of the Atlantic Ocean, roughly 2,500 kilometers away from the coast, so the extreme tides come as no surprise. Well, I guess this was all. Now you know how tides affect celestial bodies as well as how the ocean tides work. The remaining question is, what did you ever wonder about? Write it in the comments and your idea could be the topic of a future video. If you like this video, help me by getting found on YouTube by leaving a thumbs up. And if you want to stay tuned for new videos, just press that subscribe button. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Have a good one.